I'm going to introduce you to my friend Jenna. Jenna!
Hello.
I would like a white chocolate mocha, iced, please. Oh, look at that! Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Hold on. Let me get a look.
Okay. So Jenna and I have known each other for about a year, and there's somebody that she needs to make another coffee for.
No, it's okay. They're
Oh.
smokers.
So Jenna, what is your background? How did you find the Lord? And what is God doing in your life right now to lead you to where you need to go? Thank you.
I found the Lord. Technically, I was in a youth group whenever I was like 13 or 14 years old, and I didn't want to go. And there was this part where he was like, hey, if you haven't accepted the Lord, raise your hand. And I did not raise my hand, and my friend grabbed my arm and pushed it up into the air. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I went up to the front. By the time I got down there, I actually was into the idea of like meeting this guy named Jesus. So it was a little bit of a forced introduction at first, but then over time my stepmom, she started going to church a lot, and my mom had always like talked to me about the Lord a little bit, you know, but I started like really going to church and stuff and finding the Lord for myself whenever I was probably like 15, 16.
So from there till now, what has God done in your life?
Oh, not much. Lots. Man, a lot. I mean, at that time, it's okay, I sit down.
Yeah. I'll
Um,
allow it.
okay, so whenever I was about 14, that was my freshman year of high school, and I was doing a whole bunch of nothing, except for like skipping school, smoking doobies, honestly, and I really wasn't doing very well. I lived with my mom at the time in Eureka, and I had told her that I really wanted to move to Branson because there just wasn't a lot for me in Eureka, and she agreed with me. And so I moved to Branson, and that's when I really started going to church. Just started like really developing my own relationship with the Lord and getting a really good community around me. From there, I just started like singing in church and going to youth, and then getting really involved at Faith Life and serving there and just developing my relationship with God, you know, over time. And yeah.
Cool. So we were talking the other day about finding our spots and where God wants us, and you had mentioned some stories about trying to find where God wanted you, and how did that all go?
Yeah, I was definitely trying to figure it out. It's like every human being. Whenever I first graduated, I mean, I've always like really loved music and really loved singing, and felt like the Lord had graced me with that, but you know, just in the world, I think you're told a lot that has to remain a hobby, and that can't be something that you pursue because it's not realistic. You know, unless the Lord graces you to like be a doctor or a lawyer, then you can like pursue what he puts in your heart to do, or what he's graced you to do. And so for a little bit there, you know, my mom wanted me to look into being like a dental hygienist. That was a nightmare. I hated it with everything in me. And like I had said to you, I very, very rapidly discovered that innocent human lives were hinging on me not being in the medical field.
Yeah.
But I started like trying to go down that path, and you know, all the while I definitely felt like my calling, so to speak, was in a different direction, but I just didn't feel like that could fit into reality, you know. And so I was like, oh, I have to go and be a dental hygienist or something like that, something realistic and responsible. Then I can do music and stuff on the side or whatever. So I went and I did, you know, some different classes. They were all excruciatingly difficult for me. And then specifically I took microbiology, and I remember trying so hard in that class. I like stayed after class. I took like the best notes. I would talk to the teacher afterwards. I would do like all the extra credit things that I could. And then I would go to like the labs afterwards thinking like, oh, all these kids are going to be like me and have no idea what's happening. And then we would get to the labs and they would know exactly what was happening. And I seriously felt like I was like being punked. I was like, this is like the least amount of grace I've ever felt in my entire existence. Like I tried so hard in that class and I barely passed. And that honestly was like probably the grace of God that I even passed. Like, it was not my thing at all. And then I just rapidly realized after that, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be doing this. And yeah, what we were talking about the other day is like, there's people I know that are like amazing at math and things like that. And then try to get them to feel a rhythm, and they're just like, nope.
Clapping off beat.
Yeah, and I was just realizing like I'm graced to do something, and in the Bible, God like didn't just bless people that had natural occupations that made a lot of money, like even if you were a fisherman, he brought in like tons of fish, and like made you abundant in whatever trade that he had, brought you to and graced you for. And so I just started realizing like I need to trust the Lord and go in that direction, and whatever that looks like, and not get into this mindset of there's only one way, and that's the, Western American way. So I dropped out of that and stopped doing dental hygiene.
Whew.
Or I stopped doing the classes leading to dental hygiene. That was the other weird thing, was whenever I was in there were people there, they had this huge passion for teeth. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. But then I started seeing, like, people have these passions for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's like, this girl genuinely loves teeth for some reason. It's because we need dental hygienists in the world. I'm not one of them. And then I remember meeting another guy that was like, I asked him what his dream job was, because I started like really trying to figure this out, do people have certain passions that they've just always had, and then there's just like a certain grace that comes with it. And I remember asking this one guy, what's your passion, and he was like, I just really love hunting, and I love conservation stuff, and like it's my dream to own a ranch, like a deer hunting ranch. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a nightmare. This is a lovely room of death. And so I was like, that is interesting. And then I remember asking another guy what he liked, and he was like, I've always loved mountains, and it's my dream to be like one of the guides for like Mount Everest and stuff.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, again, sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I just started seeing like God is like really specifically like put really certain like dreams and things in people's hearts. It's like important for us to follow those breadcrumbs and trust that he'll take care of you,
Absolutely. So how would you encourage people who don't know what to do or where to start or how to even begin to find what God wants them to do? What would you say to them?
A long time ago, I was I don't even remember what it was on, but it was a guy, I don't remember if he was the one that literally like invented DJing or if he's just the one that like made it famous or what, but I remember watching this thing, and this guy was talking about when he was growing up, he was just obsessed with circles and electricity, and that people made fun of him because he liked bicycle wheels and all this like weird stuff. I probably would have made fun of him too. It was freaking weird, But, he started discovering he was the one that ended up like making DJing like this really huge thing. He's extremely successful, And I would just like say that I think literally every single human being has things in their heart that they're passionate about. And it could seem like the strangest thing in the world, like that guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I like circles and power. But he followed those breadcrumbs, and it led him where he is now. And it doesn't always have to be singing or being a pastor or whatever. I think that you just have to first go inside out. Like, what are you passionate about inside? Like, what are you naturally drawn to in life? Whether it's like traveling or whatever, and then just start following that and pursuing it, obviously with the Lord, and just asking the Lord, like, along the way, what should I do? Where should I go? And like, any job that I get, even here, I had a choice between this or a different offer that honestly looked a lot better on paper, and I really felt like the Lord had led me here. And this doesn't seem like it has anything to do with singing or whatever. It's being a barista.
Yeah.
But this is like the most flexible schedule I've ever had with a job. And if I have a gig and stuff, I can go play my gig very easily. They're very understanding and have worked with me and have helped me to pursue what the Lord's put in my heart to do. And God knew that, you know. In the other job, there's no way that I would have had that type of favor or ability, you know. So, I don't know, it's a really long-winded way to say that I would just start with looking at what you're drawn to in life, and then just start taking steps towards those things, and just trust God along the way to direct you, and follow peace and follow that joy and excitement that you get, you know. Whenever I had that other job or this job put before me, I just sat down and I asked the Lord which to do. But then I also said out loud, like, I'm going to do this job, or I'm going to do that job. And I just went with the one that I felt more peace and excitement about. And I tried not to look at numbers or anything else, you know.
Yeah.
I think just the point is that it doesn't have to look a certain way, you know. And the Lord can be, say, like, the Lord has graced you to be a singer or something like that, and then he leads you to go work at the post office, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean like, oh, he's graced me to be a singer, so now I need to go get in a band, or I need to go to Bethel or whatever, you know. Like, I feel like the main point is to just get your idea out of your head, you know.
About
trust,
look.
and trust the process, you know. And like, the Lord has led me to do lots of different jobs that at the time I didn't see the point. It didn't make any sense with what I felt like he had put in my heart, but I had a grace to do it, you know. Like, for instance, whenever I worked, I felt like I was supposed to go work at the schools and work with kids with autism, and like specifically in a classroom where it's like behavior replacement and stuff. That's a very challenging job.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you have like kids that want to punch you all the time, and like, it's your job to replace that behavior. And I worked that for a while, and the Lord gave me this huge grace to do it, and to the point where the school like asked me to go and get my special education degree, and that they would hire me in a second. And I didn't feel like I was supposed to go that far with it, but I didn't understand, like, I felt like I was graced to be a singer. Why am I working in a school with kids with autism? But like, I also feel like everybody has a ministry, you know. Everybody's called to ministry, and that job helped me a lot to understand like how to be a help to people in a way that I had never experienced before, you know. It also just connected me to certain people and gave me a different perspective and things, you know, whenever it comes to ministry. I guess what I'm saying is, like, I think that people can get so sidetracked with like, oh, at my reunion, what am I going to be able to say? Like, I want to be able to say I make 6 figures and, you know, have this amazing title or whatever, you know. And I think that, you know, whenever you go after those things, after materialistic things, after money and stuff like that, you know, rather than just allowing the Lord to bless you with those things and add those things to you, but you chase those things instead, it makes for very unhappy and unfulfilled people, you know, or very stressed out people that are just trying to keep up with all of their, you know, wealth and things. I think the point is just to trust the process, and like, trust the Lord, and trust where he's taking you. And even if it looks completely different, you know, than what you would have expected, maybe he's bringing you into that job for a season to teach you, you know, something about humility, or something about being diligent, or even just connecting you with a certain person that's going to connect you to this and this, you know.
Yeah.
And
Cool. Customer. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Jenna.